a breakthrough book from Crown. You can get a signed copy tonight if you go to www.peer-mac.com or .org. That's www.peermac.org. Click on Peer Purchases, and you'll be able to order, not for the cover price of $24, but for just $20, a copy of John Mack's book, Passport to the Cosmos, signed by Dr. Mack. When we get back, we're going to be talking about one of the subjects that is one of the most difficult subjects for me personally to talk about. When I was reading Dr. Mack's book, I was astonished to find myself quoted some things I had said to Dr. Mack about this particular subject, which is sex. And I thought long and hard about whether or not I would even bring it up tonight. I'm very shy about it, but I think it's really important to talk about this and to talk about fear. And if we can talk to Dr. Mack about this tonight, I think we're really going to learn something very, very new. He's made some real breakthroughs in terms of his insight and his understanding of what's happening in both of these areas. The close encounter experience, as it really is, John Mack is probably as close to the truth about this as anyone ever has been. This is Whitley Strieber. We'll be back in just a few minutes with John Mack. I would like to quote from your book, John. The sexual part of my relationship with the beings has been very complex and very rich and very difficult at times because I'm a married man. I've taken marriage vows, which I believe in. To an extent, this aspect of it has been thrust on me, and it's not something I've been able to control. If it had been under my control, I would have felt very guilty. It's like having a second wife with whom I have a secret relationship. I would wake up in a state of sexual excitement in mid-intercourse. The physical dynamic is different in the sense that the sensation of intercourse moves through your whole body, and you become totally devoted to it for longer than I do in normal intercourse. It's as if a level of sexuality I'm not normally involved with is engaged. It's very, very powerful. Of course, that I'm quoting myself, as you know. Let's talk about this side of this experience, because you cannot really engage the close encounter experience unless you engage its sexual content, I don't think.
What we had heard, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I had heard before I got deeply into this was that the sexual part of it was a kind of a workman-like professionalism on the part of the beings who would take sperm from the men by some sort of rubbing or with some kind of equipment, and eggs were taken from the women, and hybrid species was created, and a lot of people have that kind of experience, although I think that in the early years of investigating this, that was more common than it is now, that this kind of traumatic, cold sort of experience. But little by little, I began to find that if you work with people more intensely, and you stay with the fear, and you allow them to go through this kind of dark night of the soul, we sometimes call it an initiation that people go through, the experience shifts, and the terror gives way, and the people discover that they have a deep connection with these beings. It's still a mystery where this connection comes from, what it's about, whether it's the future of our species coming back in some form, or it's an evocation of some kind of deep truth from human history. I really don't know. But what emerges is, one might say, well, it's something special about you, Whitley, but it's not.
No, I know it's not. That's why I brought it up.
I've heard that story from many people. There's a whole section in the last chapter of the book called Parenting on the Other Side, in which there is usually one other being that the human has a very strong connection with, very deep connection, which may or may not have an erotic part to it, but it is a very deep, intimate, close, and often sexual kind of experience, which has a very different quality than sexuality. So when people say, well, you write about sex with aliens, ho, 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 it's really not like that. It's a much more transcendent, often highly spiritual, and,
yes,
in a sense, very odd relationship, because it's not based on like a physical attraction. It's a much deeper kind of soul, intimate relationship that seems to be on the other side of this terror that people go through. And I haven't, I don't think we have enough information now to know that this lies on the other side of the terror for every individual. But I've certainly come across it over and over again now, more recently.
Well, one of the things that comes up inevitably when you're talking about this is the idea of hybrids, of there being children that emerge out of this part of the experience. Do you have a sense, are we talking about something real or something that's somehow a metaphor? For example, you said that the sexual content of it was somehow or another related to the spirit, and I would agree with that totally. It's almost as if if your soul could have sensations, these are the sensations it would have. So what about the hybrids? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think you're asking a question that has to be asked. In other words, there's a danger when you talk about this phenomenon to start making the whole thing quite literal. We talk about beings, we talk about erotic relationship, as if this is somehow occurring in the same material sense that our everyday lives occurs. And it's really not like that. We don't know, for instance, even though people have had, hundreds of thousands of people that may have had this experience of having somehow participated in the creation of hybrids, we don't know that these hybrids exist in a literal, physical way. For instance, if you were to sort of go up into the heavens and look inside a UFO, there would be hybrids being created. We don't have any tangible physical evidence of the existence of these hybrids. So we have to be very cautious about making this too literal a matter. We have fundamentally the experiences that people have had, and these are people of sound mind. I mean, I should say that really clearly. We've done very careful psychological and psychiatric examination of these individuals. We've done comparison studies, control studies. There isn't any indication that there's a psychiatric explanation of this phenomenon, nor is there any suggestion that this is somehow something people have taken in because they've watched too many television shows or seen too many movies that have to do with aliens. On the contrary, the filmmakers go to the researchers to get their material so they can make the movies. So it is in some way a very real experience, but the problem is that we are so limited philosophically in the West that it's either literally and physically real, or it's just imagination that doesn't exist. But what do we do when people of sound mind have powerful experiences that affect their bodies? They'll talk about a profound vibrational experience that occurs, and yet we cannot prove it from a literal physical point of view. What do we do with that? And I think that's one of the struggles that people who work in this field have, because we don't really have what one might call a science of experience, or what Robert John, a researcher at Princeton, calls science of the subjective. That we think of science as demonstrating the physical, objective reality of something. And there are physical dimensions to the abduction experience, but it's not only physical. It seems to come from some place that is beyond the veil, or
it's kind of both.
Term. What?
Like I've had experiences that were just extraordinarily physical, and others that weren't, and some that started out in non-physical became physical. I think all of us are in the same boat. We those of us who are having this experience, often you can't even tell whether it's physical or not. It's just so intense and overwhelming and powerful, and you're left in a state of kind of glorious shock, and you don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from everywhere all at once.
Yeah, I mean, it's